Fantasy football season approaching. Here's the top 15 kickers I'm ranking entering the 2024 season. The first kicker, Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. So Justin Tucker, he's been one of the best kickers of all time. And ever since he's been in the league, he's at top of the list every season. He's got a big boot. His field goal percentage is over 90% throughout his NFL career. And this Baltimore Ravens team, once again, they're going to be a contender and putting points on the board early and often. So Justin Tucker, we know that 50-plus yarder is his specialty. That's a quick 5 points for fantasy owners. And he can kick it from anywhere on the field. And obviously with this great offense, he's number one. Once again, number two, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys. Brandon Aubrey took the league by storm with his big boot and big field goals with the Dallas Cowboys last season, where it took him pretty much to the last couple weeks of the season before he missed a field goal. So this Cowboy offense, once again, should be amongst the top scoring teams in all the NFL this year. Brandon Aubrey, former soccer player, now translating to a kicker, and he kicked the 67-yarder in the preseason, so he can kick it from anywhere on the field as well. Half his games are indoors in Jerry World in Dallas, and I think once again he has a good season. Number three, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Evan McPherson, to some people, he might be a little high on this list, but this Cincinnati Bengal team, they're going to come back full throttle this season after last year, a lot of injuries and just poor play, where it was a down year for sure. But Evan McPherson still is a big boot. 50-plus yarder is nothing for him. And I know it's 50-plus yarders are nothing nowadays compared to even 10, 15 years ago, where a lot of field goal kickers couldn't hit those long field goals consistently. But since he came out of college a few years ago, he's been one of the better kickers and clutchest kickers in the league. And this season, I think the whole this Cincinnati team bounces back and have a lot of good fantasy options at multiple positions. Number four, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. Harrison Butker got a nice extension a couple weeks ago from this Kansas City Chiefs team, and he's been with them this whole Super Bowl run, winning 3 titles in the last 5 seasons, is Harrison Butker and this Chiefs team. I know he's shaky at times, as Harrison Butker, but for the most part, when they need a clutch kick and an offense that's getting down the field and putting points on the board, Harrison Butker is going to get his fantasy points. And I believe this Chiefs offense is going to be better than it's been even in the last 2 seasons with Xavier Worthy in the NFL draft. Isaiah Pacheco, another season under his belt. He's getting better at the running back position. Hollywood Brown they brought in as well. So this Chiefs offense, they could improve, because last season, let's be honest, during the regular season, their offense was inconsistent, and it still was enough for them to make a run and win another Super Bowl. So right now, Harrison Butker, I think more opportunities will be there. And scoring, number 5, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. I've seen Tyler Bass ranked lower on these websites, but this Bill team, I know they lost key pieces. Stephon Diggs traded away to the Houston Texans. Gabe Davis signing off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Tyler Bass, he plays in obviously a cold environment where the wind's really blowing in those winter months in upstate New York. But I still believe this Buffalo Bill team is going to get in the red zone early and often. I know they got a lot of unknowns at the wide receiver position, and Curtis Samuel right now going in is their number 1 wide receiver, even though he's banged up and might miss the opener. But like I said, Tyler Bass, he's been kicking great in his NFL career, and the weather don't matter to him. And also, this Buffalo Bill team still going to put points on the board as long as they got Josh Allen under center. Number 6, Ka'im Fairbairn of the Houston Texans. So this Texan offense, it's going to be an explosive year offensively, where I think they're going to put a lot of points on the board early and often. Adding Stephon Diggs, adding Joe Mixon to already a team that put up a lot of points last season with Nico Collins emerging, Tank Dell, and Devin Singletary have a decent year. But it all starts with C.J. Stroud behind center for this Houston Texan team, and he's turned this franchise around in 1 season. And Ka'im Fairbairn, I know he missed some time last year, but he was one of the better kickers in the league. Another kicker who plays indoors, which obviously is always a plus for Ka'im Fairbairn. And whatever kicker I'm going to talk about, if you're playing indoors, you're not going to deal with the weather, obviously, not going to deal with the elements, and it's a straight shot to the upright. So with a Texan team, that's going to be a high-powered offense and get a lot of opportunities. Fairbairn, he's up there this season amongst the top kickers. Number 7, Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons. So last season was a down year for Younghoe Koo, and this Falcon offense was inconsistent and one of the worst units in the league in terms of putting points on the board. But now with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, it's going to change a whole lot of things over there and open up the whole field for guys like Drake London, Bijan Robinson to get more running lanes. Kyle Pitts, I think, finally could have that breakout season that people been waiting for, where he was a top pick in the NFL draft a few years ago. And Younghoe Koo, he's been one of the better kickers over the last 5 seasons. And obviously with half his games indoor, Hoku is going to have a nice schedule, and this offense is going to put more points on the board this season. Number 8, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles. So Jake Elliott, he's been a mainstay with this Eagle team for many seasons now, and he's been a pretty accurate kicker for the most part, is Jake Elliott. And he burst on the scene many years ago, hitting a game-winning 63-yarder, which pretty much put him on the map as one of the better kickers in the league. And this Philadelphia Eagle team has put up a lot of points over the last few seasons. Now adding Saquon Barkley to the offense will add even more to this offense, where they're going to get in the red zone a couple more times per game. I think Philadelphia, he gets a few extra points a game or 1 or 2 field goals. It's a solid ball game for any kicker. So Jake Elliott playing on a high-powered offense and an accurate kicker, and a kicker this Eagle team likes a lot over the last few seasons. I think he's a good option. Number 9, Jason Sanders of the Miami Dolphins. So Jason Sanders, he's on a high-powered offense. Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, Odell Beckham added to the mix. I don't know what he has left, but this Dolphin team plays in great weather for the most part. Jason Sanders has a big boot, and this Dolphin team is going to be top points per game with these weapons like I mentioned. So Jason Sanders, he's going to get opportunities once again this season, and this year he'll finish within the top 10, I believe. After the last couple of years, he's been just outside at number 10, Jake Moody of the San Francisco 49ers. So another high-powered offense a kicker is on. And I know sometimes these kickers on the high-powered offense has to settle for a lot of extra points, but Jake Moody, last year I thought he was pretty decent in his rookie season, where they cut longtime kicker Robbie Gould going into last year was the San Francisco 49er team. And Jake Moody came out and did the job for the most part. He struggled a little bit in the midseason, but he got it back going. So right now I think Moody in this high-powered offense and second year in the league, he's going to pick things up even more. And like I said, he's got a big boot where he could hit from that 50-plus range as well. Number 11, Matt Gay of the Indianapolis Colts. And Matt Gay, one of the highest-paid kickers of all time. Home games are all indoors for Matt Gay. This Colt team, they stalled out a lot last season, where he was putting up points on the board and a decent amount of double-digit games for Matt Gay. So this year, this Colt team, Anthony Richardson, he's back in the mix after he missed the majority of last season in his rookie year after getting off to a good start. And like I said, but kicker indoors and a kicker with good accuracy and a good field goal percentage, usually he's going to put up some points. And this Colt offense, I know it's pretty decent on paper, but they seem like an offense that's going to grind out and have to settle for some field goals at times. Number 12, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders. So this Raider team, going with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, I think it's an upgrade in terms of getting down the field and putting points on the board than an Aidan O'Connell, where it would have been a little bit more of a conservative offense and a lot underneath and short routes. So Daniel Carlson, most of his games are indoors this season, especially playing in the AFC West, where you're going to Los Angeles, it's indoors. You got the home games, 8-9 home games as well over there in Vegas. So like I said, the double-digit games indoors it's going to be for Daniel Carlson, and he's got a big boot. I know last season was a down year, but as a whole, this Raider offense just couldn't produce, like I said, with injuries and poor performances from guys like Josh Jacobs. Adams, he disappeared at times as well, but I think Carlson in this Raider offense bounces back a little bit this season. 13, Cameron Dicker of the Los Angeles Chargers, another kicker that plays indoors, and a kicker on a team where I think it's going to be tough for Los Angeles to put points on the board like they had in years past. Obviously, Keenan Allen, they traded him off. He went to the Chicago Bears. Mike Williams, he signed with the New York Jets after coming off the ACL. Austin Eckler, he signed with the Washington Commanders. Gerald Everett with the Chicago Bears. So they lost a lot of starters. A lot of playmakers was this Los Angeles Charger team. So I think a lot of settling for field goals, it's going to be for Cameron Dicker and the Chargers. And that's what they're going to have to do, especially if they want to compete, even though I don't see them competing in the AFC West, where I believe the Kansas City Chiefs, once again, will run away with the division. 14, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what to make of the Seattle offense this season. On paper, obviously it looks good. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet in the backfield. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, even though I bet his better years are behind him. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, the second-year wide receiver, and Noah Fant. So it's a pretty good offense on paper, but like I said, last year they had trouble putting points on the board. Was the Seattle Seahawks team, and Jason Myers, he had a pretty solid season, and it's a good kicker's field as well to kick over there in Seattle with the 12th man. So Jason Myers, I think, will have a decent season. I don't think he'll match what he did last year because this Seahawks team had Drew Lock starting some games as well, where I don't think Geno Smith will play that bad with this offense like Drew Lock did, where Jason Myers had to settle for a lot of field goals. And plus Pete Carroll, he's out as head coach, holding the coaching staff. And we'll see how the offense goes. But if you get Jason Myers, obviously, for a starting kicker in your 12, 14-team leagues, I think it's fine. And the 15th and final kicker I'm ranking heading into the season is Dustin Hopkins of the Cleveland Browns. So Dustin Hopkins, he's found a home with this Cleveland Brown team over the last couple seasons, where he's bounced around. He was with the Commanders for a little bit, then the Los Angeles Chargers he was for a little bit, and now he's with the Cleveland Browns. And we saw some monster games out of Dustin Hopkins over the last few seasons, especially last year, where the Browns, they had to settle for tons of field goals because they just couldn't score, and they just didn't really have a quarterback until Joe Flacco came off the couch in the later part of the season, and they started putting points on the board and scoring touchdowns. But like I said, Hopkins, he's got a good boot. Always in those AFC North type of games where a lot of field goals are kicked, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens in those ball games. So right now, I think Dustin Hopkins, he could be a top 15 option. He had some monster games with 20-plus fantasy points last year. And this Brown team, we'll see if they're going to put points on the board. I have to settle again. I know Nick Chubb's hurt. We don't know when he's coming back. Don't know what they're going to get from Deshaun Watson. Is this Cleveland Brown team? So I think Hopkins could be a decent back-end option. So that's the top 15 kickers I'm ranking entering the 2024 fantasy football season.